In February 2019, with the end of Japan's Heisei era approaching, Asashoryu was invited to re-watch classic matches over the last 30 years and comment. When his January 2008 bout with Hakuho came up, his cheeky grin disappeared. 11 years on, and it still hurt. The match, described in a recent post of mine, marked the decisive shift in the Asa-Haku relationship, now called the Haku-Asa relationship in the media. It taught Asashoryu that he could no longer fight Hakuho from the front. The youngster's power would simply overwhelm him. The following March, he quickly changed tack at the Tachi-ai to armlock Hakuho from the side and send him over, the relief and elation combined causing him to raise both arms. By now we knew each other's techniques down to the finest detail, Hakuho recalled. He knew when to catch me going forward. The following May saw Asashoryu pretend to want a belt battle before pouncing with a thrust-over from the left, taking the head-to-head to 12-6 in his favor. The match ended in acrimony. Asashoryu shoved Hakuho while he was down on all fours. Hakuho leapt to his feet and shaped to cuff him in response. "If this wasn't a dohyo, they'd be brawling by now," was Kitanofuji's famous remark. It was Asashoryu's last desperate attempt to upset Hakuho's rhythm. It failed. He would never beat Hakuho in a regulation match again. The next time they fought was the final day of January 2009, Asashoryu on 14-0, Hakuho on 13-1. "I again put my East Yokozuna pride on the line when mounting the dohyo," Hakuho wrote, and fully conscious of the supportive crowd got both hands inside at the Tachi-ai and instantly overwhelmed him. Asashoryu hesitated at that initial jump-off and may have been attempting a deliberate full start. He made no such mistake in the playoff, though, proving Hakuho right to think that he could still teach him something about fighting spirit. Hakuho's take? "I lost the battle for the inside grip, let him get a firm underarm hold and then a strong frontal left, and lost, all too soon, by yorikiri. And I conveyed my regret to the heavens." Such regret was short-lived. Hakuho dictated things from the front in March and May, engaging Asashoryu in precisely the belt battles he feared and winning on both occasions by yorikiri. Their 45-second match in July is described by Hakuho as overflowing with spirit and settled in the following manner. "After we both secured inside lefts, a number of reversals occurred which caused our stances to constantly change. I eventually won through by using my inside right to execute an underarm throw." Showing he'd learned from previous defeats, he concluded, "My resolve not to go forward too hastily earned me my 4th straight win against him." September 2009, Asashoryu's 29th birthday, saw the two men reconstruct the scenario of January. Hakuho won the regulation match to force the playoff, and Asashoryu walked away with the ultimate birthday present. "He got his head much lower for the playoff and smashed deep inside my defenses," Hakuho writes. "In response, I could achieve neither an inside right nor an outside left, and found myself helpless in the face of his scoop throw." It was one of Hakuho's worst moments in sumo, setting what he describes as the dishonorable record of 3 playoff defeats in a calendar year. In his defense, he cites an elbow injury suffered in Nagoya as the reason for his failure this time. Victory in November tied the head-to-head at 12-all. Victory in January put Hakuho ahead for the first and final time. Just 11 days later, the Yokozuna was fighting back the tears in front of microphones while trying to comment on Asashoryu's shock retirement, the result of a late-night alcohol-fueled altercation with a dangerous gangster. "He's still got some unfinished business here, right?" Hakuho sobbed. "The words got stuck in my throat," he tells us. "At first, I didn't want to believe he'd retired. He was my biggest rival and the man I most disliked losing to." And the pressure and responsibility of a yokozuna was something that only Asashoryu could share with me. There is, I believe, an element of fate behind my turning out to be his last opponent. He was the man I aspired to be, the yokozuna who hauled me up to his level. Beating him on his last appearance was my ultimate act of repayment. The curtain had come down on the greatest rivalry of modern times, leaving Hakuho alone on stage mid-speech. I was now the lone yokozuna, he said, as the lights of those heady days faded to black. I not only felt a heightened responsibility, but the specific need to make up for Asashoryu's loss, to give to sumo what he no longer could. His response? 15 wins in March, May, July, and September. 4 straight tournaments without defeat for the first time under the 15-day system.